Hello, everybody. We are live. Um, Today, we have a very exciting live, but because this month is not only Dino's birthday month, but it's my anniversary month because it was in September 2017 when I hit the shores of the USA, and the rest is history, right?
Wow, Christopher Columbus.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
And he was Italian too, also, they say. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's another question for another day. But that's not what I'm speaking about. What I was thinking about today is I went to the park. I love the park. And I decided that I was going to swing on the swings, right? Because why not? Of course, I did get some very odd looks from the mothers of the children, but that was all part of the fun. And yes, I know it's crazy. So I was thinking about play. How many times do we really need to play, right? We need to play so that we can free our minds and start getting more creative. And how does play affect business? I also think about, for just a side note, on Picasso. If you ever look at Picasso's pictures, they're so distorted and weird, and they just mess with your mind. But he was obviously playing, and look how famous he is. So on that note, this is Carina, Break for FindFreddom, but you know that. And of course, my awesome co-host, Dino. Hey, Dino, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So what do you think about playing business?
Playing business? I don't think much of it. I think you mean like don't take yourself very seriously. Obviously, play to me is, being silly, playing on the swing. I mean, I get it, but in business, I was just like a shark, man. I was all business. So, but you have to appreciate when to not take yourself so seriously, right? You mentioned Picasso. Picasso said that a genius has a little madness to him. Yes. And you can tell, obviously, from his art. But keep in mind, Picasso wasn't really famous in the beginning. He was famous close to his death when everything was starting to get commercialized, and there were the Andy Warhols and the Chagalls and everybody else. He was one of the first, but imagine, I mean, he wasn't as famous as he is now, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
No, but what I think what I'm really saying is how play affects creativity. I mean, as a business owner and in business, you have to be creative all the time. Because you've got to you don't have to be creative all the time. You just have to be creative sometimes to create maybe an offer, or like this week, hey, you know what, this week I'm a bit short of cash. Let me create an offer, and I have to be a bit creative and put it out to my audience, and let's see what happens. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's on the level I'm thinking. What do you think about that? Like the play as in freeing your mind and not being afraid to go out and be bold. Maybe that makes more sense.
The not being afraid part is mandatory. I mean, you can't be afraid to try stuff. You can't be afraid to fail. And I know it's scary to, even the word failure. Oh, I failed. I'm a failure. Those things, there's such a stigma put with those words. They're just words, by the way. But how are you going to know success if you don't first know failure? I mean, how are you going to know, wow, I'm successful? I mean, does that ever come into your mind? Some of the things that they've described just in my career, right? Oh, wow, you thought of that. It was brilliant. It was that, but at the time it wasn't brilliant. It was survival. I didn't think of it like, hey, you know what I'm doing right now is brilliant. You just don't think like that. All I thought about was, how am I going to pay my next bill? Or how am I going to feed my family? Or selfishly, how am I going to go out and take my wife to dinner or my kids to a show? bills are sometimes they're smothering, they're all consuming, and people don't realize. I mean, there's a lot of pressure associated with just being alive today. I mean, you could say money isn't important, right? But it kind of is, as long as people accept money for payment on goods and services. Yeah, it is. And so you're going to say, well, now there's different kinds of currency. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm trading you this for that. So you need to have money to live.
Yes.
It's not the most important thing in the world, but there have been countless times in my life where I've been counting pennies and overdrawn accounts, and it's embarrassing, but it happens. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that's experienced this, but I'll just talk about me. So the things you do in the name of creativity, sometimes you don't feel like you're being creative. It's more like, I got to look at this thing from all angles. I got to pick it apart. I got to see it in a different way. I got to step away maybe to just clear my mind.
Yes, yes.
And how do you step away? How I do it, sometimes I'll go for a drive, and I'll drive really, really fast. Sometimes I'll
amazing thing.
I'll play music. Sometimes I'll just I'll watch a movie and lose myself in a movie. I'm a fan of old movies, and I've watched movies over and over and over again because the good ones that touch me, I love that.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I look at what you're saying.
Yes. So you go and drive very fast. That's the best. I haven't driven here because obviously I don't have a license anyway. That's also another story. But I remember in South Africa, that was like the best thing. Just drive, and hopefully you don't get caught, right? Because that's a problem.
Yeah.
So one of my dreams is actually to go into Germany and drive on the Autobahn.
Yeah. No, well, supposedly no speed limit. But,
yes, right. Now that's freeing. And that's playing. And once you've done that and you come back, I understand what you say. It's like your mind's clear, right? And you can see things from a different perspective. So for me, it's like lying in the bath or taking a walk.
Well, it's also I wrote a book. I'm writing another one. It's the same thing with, writer's block. Sometimes you get so close to the material, you get one-sided or jaded, and you start taking a certain angle that's not what you're trying to do. And I know for me, it stinks where you're just like, I got to just scrap this and start over again. Yes. But to avoid those pitfalls, you got to step away. Mm-hmm. There should be no time limit when you're writing. By the way, it comes to you when it comes to you. You write what you feel. You can always edit later. But if you sit there and say, like I think a lot of people do, I have 6 months to write this, and I got to do it, or else, you're already prone to writing not your best. Let's just put it that way. That's a nice way to say it, because you have a deadline to reach.
Yes.
And I know a lot of publishers, well, you don't get paid until you finish this book. That's a hurdle, right? So you have to kind of trick your mind once in a while. You got to give it some fresh air, I think.
Yes. And how else would you trick your mind?
How else? You trick it all the time. It's a remarkable instrument. It gets very used to what you do very, very quickly. And it's just like any muscle in the body, right? If you do the same exercise all the time, you will progress less than if you switch up your exercises or skip a day or two, because your muscles have memory. They get used to it. Well, your mind is a muscle too. And what you do to it, you're exercising it. So it's a master of patterns, believe it or not.
Yes.
More than people realize. And so if it gets used to a certain daily pattern, it'll just kind of, what's a good word? it coasts because it's so powerful, so efficient. There's no energy expended, right? So some of my most creative moments have come in the middle of chaos.
Yeah.
And the reason that happens is because your brain's just like, it's turned on. It's just like, okay, yeah, wait a minute. Weren't we supposed to do this? Weren't we supposed to go for a walk? Were we, all of a sudden it's just like, bam, here's a crisis. All right, handle it.
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
saying it's fun all the time, and but it happens. And so for me, the most creative moments that I've ever had didn't come when I'm comfortable or coasting. It's come when I'm lean and mean and hungry. And in business, let's just put it this way, a hungry shark is dangerous, right? A fed shark, it's still dangerous, but not to the same degree. And I don't want to put a bad stigma on business, but all business people, entrepreneur people, they'll understand what I'm saying. Sometimes you have to take away all the comforts in your zone.
Yes.
In order for you to perform at your peak level, right? It's what pushes you.
Yes, definitely. Because I find that complacency kills. When you're complacent, when life is just like cool and, oh, this is great. I'm just chilling. Life's beautiful. And you get into that rut. And then one day you look around and you think, whoa, what have I done? What's happened to my life? And you think, no, it's time to stop and to smell the roses and to change everything. But you have to get to that point. I don't know why we have to get to that point where you say, you know what, enough is enough is enough. I need to move now and do the next and actually become like the hungry shark.
Yeah, but there's no end destination to what we're talking about, by the way.
No.
And I don't know how other people handle retirement or anything like that, but if retirement was an end destination, I'd lose my mind. It's good to be comfortable. It's good to be satisfied. Obviously, it's good to be content, but not for long. Just like it's good to be hungry and it's good to be aggressive and it's good to be creative, but not for long.
Yes.
Everything changes throughout your life and it's always fluid. What is satisfying for me today may be different tomorrow. And that's the beautiful part about it, right?
Yes.
If we keep looking at things like, okay, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to survive this, I'm going to, overcome this. You're looking at it like a race that finishes. This race until you die never finishes, And when you understand that, maybe you wouldn't be so quick to get to your destination because there never is an ending point, as far as I'm concerned, right?
No, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's a statistic. Sorry, there's a statistic that says that, and you can see it, that people that retire. They stop work or whatever they do, and then they go and sit on the rocking chair and watch their lives go by. In 5 years, they're dead because they just have no meaning, nothing in their lives, and they kill themselves. So it's interesting for me. I don't think I'd ever retire because there's always something more to do. There's always a new adventure to do. There's always somewhere else to go. There's always a new book to write or whatever it is. So that's just the excitement of life.
Yeah, and your journey doesn't always have to be self-serving. At some point, what I've found is people that have achieved milestones in their life, successful points in their life, they've come with some damage. They've had some crashes, and that's part of life.
Yeah.
But at some point, especially when you get older, the crashes are more detrimental to your health. They become more dangerous. It is, the way people describe stockbrokers stockbrokers aren't the only ones that feel that rush and those highs and lows. You know, there's a lot of professions that give you that same kind of feeling. And, you know, as good as it is, it also is exhausting, right? And you gotta kind of find a balance.
Yes.
But at some point, there's also the journey where now, instead of thinking about yourself, you start thinking about others.
Yes.
As an example, instead of hoarding all my knowledge and, you know, not sharing it, there comes a point where you want to help others become successful. You want to help others by mentoring them. That's rewarding in itself as well. So for me, well, it's me, but for me, I don't think at one point where I thought I would stop and do nothing, literally nothing. That's obviously an impossibility, but you know, there's so many other things out there. There's so many people that you can help. There's so many businesses that you can lend a hand to. There's so many speaking engagements. There's, you know, all kinds of things. And that's rewarding too, you know? So I'm looking now at the stage of my life, the things that I'm doing are just as rewarding, if not more rewarding, than when I was a hungry shark in the water and just laser focused and just going after what I wanted. I mean, so it's also the stage in your life where you put priorities in place, right?
Yes, of course. That's a very different. I mean, in your 20s, you've got different ideas to when it's later on. And everybody has their own path and everyone chooses their own vision for their lives. But for me, I have to go back to the helping other people. That's very rewarding. And it gives back so much. And that's where you get a lot of balance. When you see that, like with coaching clients, when you see that they've come from here to here, and some of them have even outgrown you, that is a beautiful thing.
Well, that's the best compliment, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when you see people emulating your style or your philosophy or even your posts. I can't tell you how many posts I see posted by other people, and I'm not like, hey, that's mine. I'm just like, all right, that's good. That's a direct compliment to you, and take it that way. You know, don't ever take it as a threat. So yeah, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Yes. Yes, it's very good. So, and another thing I was thinking about is you mentioned don't ever see it as a threat. Again, that's about the self-worth thing, because it's very easy to say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you taking my stuff? And it's like, nah, it doesn't really matter. It is a compliment. And then I'm also thinking about competition. A lot of people say, well, you should be looking out for your competition and seeing what they do and all that. And for me, I've always believed that there's never been a competition. And I don't know why this has come up now. So I'm just, there's no competition because there's no one out there like you. And there's no way that anybody can do like Dino, the way Dino does, or coach the way Dino does, or the way I do. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I agree with you. I don't think that there's competition. A lot of people spend millions and millions of dollars to research their competition. What are they doing? What are they doing better? Okay, I get that. And that's an important part of the corporate structure. I get that, right? One of the reasons people are so anxious to have you sign non-competes. Oh my God, we have important information. And that might be true with Fortune 500 company. I don't know. I've never worked for a Fortune 500 company, right? So you're asking the wrong person. But as far as my world and the businesses that I've been involved with, I didn't really care what everybody else was doing because I knew that there are certain things that I follow, and it's been burned in my brain. I mean, I was raised by mentors. That's the best way to explain it. A lot of them. And they're old school philosophies before there was all the social stuff, before there were all the how-tos and the YouTube videos on how to do this or how to,
Yeah.
there were these guys. And basically, for lack of a better word, I mean, I almost like I consumed their brains is really what it came down to. So much that I became a mini me, like a living, breathing, walking, talking carbon copy of these people. And like you mentioned, and you're accurate, at some point, I surpassed my master, if we're going to get very dramatic, right?
Yeah.
And they never looked at it as a threat. They looked at it like, wow, look at my boy. I mean, look what he's done. So don't discount the old school stuff. That said, fast forward when I had my own businesses and I was pursuing my own career, I had that mentality that, people can be this, that, but I don't think anybody really can outwork me the way I do stuff. And I don't mean outwork like hours in a day. You don't have to work 20 hours a day to be the hardest worker. It's just that extreme efficiency, learning people's patterns, learning responses, the timing, anticipating things instead of being on the defensive. You're kind of, you know what I mean? It really is a game of chess. 7-level chess sometimes. And it takes patience and it takes determination and all that stuff. But did I really want to look at my competition and get tainted by what they're doing wrong, in my opinion? No, I'd rather look at it like I'm on a corner block and the lot that I bought is right next to a McDonald's. And I'm going to build a Burger King. Well, you're going to have 2 hamburger places on the same block? Yes. Right? You see it all the time. So were they so afraid of competition? Or are they saying, hey, you know what? There's enough business for all of us because obviously, this is a pretty cool corner. It's how you look at things. Another example, domain names. I got to find the catchiest domain name. I got to find the easiest one to type. I got to find one that's got my name in it. My name, DinoMiliotis.com. I had that, but I didn't want it anymore because you know what? You can misspell my name. That's a lot of words. But instead of being so caught up in the catchiest.com that you can find, maybe it could be something completely different. It doesn't have to be your name. Maybe it's your mantra. Maybe it's what you do. Maybe it's how you make people feel. And so that opens up a whole new world of available domains, right?
Yes.
I know there's a bad example, but hear me out. So when people sit there and say, I need to hit one out of the park, I need to figure out that clever way to do something, and it's got to be different. It's got to be special. You'll lose your mind trying to create that clever thing, as opposed to just sitting back and letting things come to you, right? You have so many more options, just like your domain names. I'm fixed on my name, the Dino Miliotis, the real Dino Miliotis, all these variations. I can go crazy insisting that I have to use my name. But who's that serving? Not, I mean, if there's ways to do it where I could call it ABC Company, it'll still be linked to my name. You Google my name, it'll come up anyway. So why am I so hung up on the name? So a lesson, to what you're saying, sometimes when you get so immersed and focused on one thing, you miss all the other choices around you. And so what you have to do is step back and just say, wow, this is a much bigger screen than I thought. And there's more infinite choices now because you did step back, right? So there you go. There's my take on it.
I love that because it's so easy. It's very easy to just get focused on one thing, and your life just carries on around you, and you don't realize everything that's happening around you.
Yeah.
But again, I also like what you were saying about waiting for things to come to you. And I'm not saying like not doing anything, and I know that's not what you're saying, but I think if you stay, now I'm going to take it a bit to the spiritual level just for a second, but if you stay focused and centered and in faith and trust, that happens anyway. So I just thought I'd let you. I just thought about that too. So, but what I want to also go back to. So you were talking about a chess game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the game of life. It's playing, right?
In that sense, yeah. I mean, again, when I think of playing, I just think of like silly kids dancing and singing, and and that's fine. That's good. But a playful attitude is probably, for me, it makes more sense because it's don't take yourself so seriously. Like if I think that people watching this are going to immediately like levitate after the wonderful things that we talked about, I got another thing coming. I got to be the one that's able to laugh at myself and not take myself so seriously,
Yes.
right? And the other thing is that regardless of the whimsical nature or feeling that you have, here's one thing that I'll say is stick to giving advice instead of telling people what to do. Tell them what you did and make sure it's a real experience and not theory. I think people are sick and tired of you should do this, you should do that.
Yes.
I think people are sick and tired of the lectures, or what's worse, the scholars. And I know I'm touching a bad subject. I'm the guy that's posting scholars quotes all week on my platforms. But a learned man who's well read on other people is smart, is wise. You should listen to them. But somebody who's not so book smart, but has lived all the experiences that they're talking about, there's another whole wide range of value right there, right? Because you've done it.
Yes.
You're not just reading. Well, like you said, statistics show, okay, who took the survey? How many people did they interview? I mean, they can't interview the people that died. You know what I'm saying? So even those statistics, right? It's as impressive as it sounds. What's the data? Did they use 100 people, 1,000 people, 2 people? Who knows, right? But when you're talking about yourself and you're talking about your own experiences, you can detail exactly not only what you did, but the emotions you felt at every single point in that journey. That information to me is priceless. It is back to what I'm saying. The world needs more storytellers about real life, and they need less stories about suppositions and fantasy and what ifs and guessing, or I think it should be this way, or it should happen. I get that out of your vocabulary. Those things to me are meaningless. If you want to try something, learn by doing. And while you're learning by doing, ask somebody who's actually done it, not lectured on it or read about it. Yes. And I'm not saying these people aren't valuable or not smart. I mean, I'm nobody to say that about anybody. I just find that this is it's the same kind of, message, but it's a different world. And so I'm not changing my message, but I'm changing my delivery. I understand a little bit better, what's missing in today's world. And what's missing in today's world is the real experiences of real storytellers. And I think that's priceless.
Yes, it is, and it's with that you get the connection with your people, and you can grow together and create the community that everybody's craving for. But it's a community of like-minded people, and you're working. It's a community of truth almost, right? Where you're connecting on a real level. Real, it maybe is better. Where you're connecting on a real level. Whereas if you have the book smart, I mean, book smart is book smart, right? Whatever. You have the book smart, you know all the so-called statistics, you know this and you know that theory and that theory. And a lot of people, and I've seen that here, a lot of people, because they're book smart, they think that they know how the person on the street feels, right? Right? They know how the person, the homeless person feels. Okay, I know I always go back to that just because I work a lot with the homeless community, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think that they know what the homeless person feels, but they cannot know because they've never been on the street. They've never felt those feelings. And so there's a disconnect. And that's where you have the problems, because you have this person who thinks that they know it all, and they're trying to put their opinions on these people, and they're saying, no, but that's not what we want, and that's not what we need. So I think you've just hit it right on the head, right? It's perfect where you're at, right? And of course, you've seen the pattern, and you've got the foresight to see what is needed.
Well, I mean, there's nothing more clear to me. Like I'll talk about the wellness, right? Which includes recovery, and it includes addiction, but it also includes anxiety and mental illness and depression, which are far more, than you realize. Again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed anything. I'm not a doctor, but there's really not many experiences that you can complain about. Let's just put it that way, that I haven't personally felt, including not caring if I'm alive or dead. I mean, I'll say it. Yeah. And so for somebody like that to not talk about them, but talk about me, it's welcomed information in that world. They trust you, first of all. You've not only read about it, but you've lived it.
Yes.
And then the killer ending is that you also have the ability to inspire them, because I'm not telling them, hey, if you do these things and think like this, you should become. They're looking at me saying, this is a guy who's got a bar in his house, who's finishing a half a handle of vodka a day for 20 years. He's got a bar in his house. Okay, I've seen it. It's real now, Yes. Instead of me saying, well, try this. Go to your liquor store and, don't try this at home. Okay. But I'm just saying it's different to just sit there and do this. And it's different to lead by example. Yes. And I believe in leading by example. I'm not Mr. Noble. I'm not Mr. I'm not above everybody else. But if you're going to stress a point that you find very passionate and important, you better make sure you've lived it and you can walk the walk and talk the talk. Otherwise, especially in this particular world, this new world, you're a phony, and they'll smell you out in 2 seconds. So it's not so much for me anyway to be popular and have the best one-liner post ever. I post what I feel. Mm-hmm. And when I post, sometimes nobody likes it. Okay. Sometimes, a certain category like it. Some other day I'll post something else, a different category. So you're always touching on some emotion. But the best part is you're touching somebody, right? I'm not worried about who I'm touching. I'm just posting what I feel at that particular time. And that's the most genuine way I know to interact with a new world, a younger audience at times, right? Mm-hmm. Or reinforcing to an audience of my peers or elders what's in the back of their head. But sometimes it takes a loud mouth like me to just spew it out. You just never know. But you have to be authentic in what you do. So the play thing, I'm going to go back to that to tie it up, right? It's not play to me like, I know you love the swings and stuff. I'm not making fun of you. I don't think of play that way. I just think of play like, don't take yourself so seriously. You're not that important. in the whole spec of things,
Yes.
you're this,
Yes.
but this can blossom to a lot bigger stuff. So lately I've been calling myself a seed planter, because that's about all I am. I can't make you do something. I can't convince you. I can't shame you. I can't. All I could do is just show people a living, breathing example of my real life, which is highs combined with lows always. It never changes, but a constant desire to learn the patterns of a new world, because it's all the same. It's run by people. Don't forget, it's still run by people.
Yes.
So anyway, that's my take on it.
Yes, and yes, and I agree with you. If you can't talk you can't go out and say, okay, this is how I've lived and this is my story or whatever it is, if you're not living those principles yourself, because then there's a disconnect within yourself. So you have to have that whole connection almost of things.
And somebody who's always happy, by the way, is a phone. You're not always happy, okay? You could turn it off like that, turn it on like that.
Yeah.
I'm the one that keeps saying that, and that is absolutely true. But you're not always going to be happy. You're going to feel sadness at one time or another for a variety of reasons. Mm-hmm. That's normal too. And I challenge a lot of people to post that as well. You know what I mean? Not just post so-and-so's feeling sad today with the sad emoji. Say why.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've been writing my second book. I mean, people know that. And man, there were 3 continuous days of writing, and I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I just wanted to of course, touch the sun like Icarus. And it was just wham, this outpouring of just sad, like reliving scars and scabs that just hit me to the point where I was just like, oh my God, why do I feel like this? This is, what's this salty discharge coming out of my eye? I mean, I was bawling, I was sobbing.
Yeah.
And instead of just hiding it, I decided to post something about it. And my post touched other people, basically saying it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to, do this, and don't believe every snapshot that you see on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. It's just a continuous way people live. It's just a picture. It's just a snapshot.
Yes.
It's part of them. It's not all of them. And so don't get confused and think that everybody's continuously happy with a permanent smile, because they're not.
Yeah, you can't be. And that was another post. I just wanted to bring this up now that I was thinking about it. I saw a video and I shared it on someone on LinkedIn. I don't know who it was. About how everybody's stuck. And we've spoken about this as well, about how everyone's looking at their phones. It's almost like I said, it's almost like a zombie apocalypse. And the interesting thing was about how, because I've noticed on LinkedIn, there's a lot of women that, are always like showing off and taking photos, which is fine. It's nice, they're looking nice. But what was interesting in this video is that you have the black and the white. So you have this woman outside her photo, and she's like, tired and broken and whatever it is, it's black and white. And then she's in front of the camera and she's showing herself off. And it's just a photo as well. And it's so easy to compare yourself to those kind of photos where you can lose yourself and say, hey, you know what? They obviously got a brilliant life. I also posted it on there. They must have a brilliant life because look how they look all the time. So I think we need to be careful about that kind of thing as well. It's so easy to just fall into that rabbit hole, and it just consumes you and creates pain in your life, which is really not true.
Yeah.
So going back to truth, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is LinkedIn. I mean, I'm no expert in LinkedIn, but sometimes you'll see, I mean, they're very bright people, many bright people, right? They're running their companies, CEOs, whatever. But I just kind of get amazed by the glamour shots of these gorgeous women dressed in evening attire, evening gowns, almost like they're going to a movie premiere or something like that. And then they'll tell you an insightful thing about business life or life in general. And then everybody, and it's just like, I get it. You're stopping traffic because of your looks, but then you're saying something to back it up. You're saying, hey, I'm no dummy. I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But that's the whole thing. Will I post myself in only a tuxedo? No. Am I going to get the same looks as these gorgeous women in evening gowns? No. But somebody will find what I have to say inspiring enough to maybe store it in their memory banks and use for another day. That's my goal. It's not to stop traffic and get the most likes. It's to post something I mean and feel and have it lived that possibly can be inspiring and motivating to somebody else. Yes. That's it.
Yes.
It's not, how many followers I have this week? See my statistics. Did they like me back? Did they like me back? Did they support me? Did they laugh? Did they share? Did they heart? Wow. Way too confusing for me. I'm sorry. And I know people go through it, and it really is incredible how the banter moves up your statistics. I could do that all day long and never even scratch the surface of these brilliant social marketers. Do I want to? No. I like being me. I like still meeting face to face. I like having speaking engagements where I'm actually talking to real people. If I have to, I'll do the virtual Zoom. I get it. But in most cases, I'm happier getting in my car, driving 200 miles to meet a group that I'm going to talk in front of than arranging a Zoom meeting or, anything like that. It's a different thing, but you're not going to change the electricity you get from face-to-face interaction.
Yes.
There's no artificial intelligence known today, at least to me, that is going to give you the same stimulation as that personal interaction. You may not reach the same amount of people as a post, but you're going to touch more people than any post that I know of.
Yes, I agree with you. And that interaction, and also I think you'll reach more people with that live speaking face to face, and they'll share it with others. So you probably have you'll probably have more of an impact.
I don't even care if they share it with others. I just care, like in a closed group, in a closed setting. If I'm talking to like Chicago next month, I'm going to speak in front of a large group. I don't care who they share with necessarily. If they do, whatever. But I just care about who's in the room, and my goal is to touch as many people as I can with a powerful message about the principle. This one is the principles of success, the old school stuff. It's not postable. I mean, there's no phones in this thing. I mean, whoever is in it pays, they get in. But when they get out, more so than just resharing and, I was, my camera took a little video. More so than that, I'm more interested in the seeds that have been planted in each of these minds, young minds in many cases, and see what happens. You know what I mean? That's classic spreading. It's not the post that's shareable, that the spreading that's going to resonate, that's going to really change somebody's life. It's when you sit down and you can connect, and face-to-face is just magic as far as I'm concerned. That's my element. I mean, just give me I'm there. But the result after my speaking engagements are, they're magical. I mean, there's a lot of people that come up that are touched, that are moved. You talk about obvious old school things, which there's nothing intricate about what I talk about. But for some people, it's like, aha, it's like, it's so simple, it's brilliant. Because you overcomplicate your life with all these overcomplicated things that we have today.
Yes, 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 yes. That's why, again, you need to play. Well, I think it's about perspective again. So I was taking it literally, playing on the swings, but it's about perspective, like you were saying. Just have that playful attitude. And hey, you don't know what will come out of it.
Exactly.
So this was a pretty good one. So what have you got any closing thoughts, Dino, before we leave today?
Yeah, don't take yourself so seriously. That's about it.
Yes, yes, I like that. And I'm going to add to that, like, get over yourself, because sometimes you do. You just have to get over yourself and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for everyone who's been watching. Just if you've got questions, put them in the group, because that's where we are here right now. We've got some things coming up, just as a teaser, but we'll talk about that soon. And as for that, I think we're going to end it now and have a beautiful day. So thank you, Dino. Have an awesome day. And
you do the same.
See you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.